looking. Yes, that's awesome. Okay, so let's figure out where to trim this. If I had known that, I would have glued these two pieces or taped these two pieces together and trimmed them as a single unit. Which you still can. Glue these together and then trim it as a unit to go down and then add your strip. And I think I went over that ad nauseum earlier in the video. Okay, that's right on. And this needs to be trimmed right about there. To me, this is when you're color blocking like this, it's really, I don't know how you can pre-trim things. So people often ask me, do I have detailed cut instructions for the design paper? Trying to describe how to cut these two pieces and that middle piece and overlap it. Yeah, and this is just one flap. So magnify that by the entire book. It's crazy. It's so confusing. I tried doing it once and I was like, oh, that's just too hard. What I can tell you is you take your flap size and you subtract 1/8 in length and width, and that's the size of the finished mat that you'll see here. It's always got a 1/16 of an inch border. That's my preferred border. I like a tight border. Some people like more. Some people want to do an 1/8 inch border, in which case you would take a 1/4 inch off length and width, and then when you center it, that leaves you with 1/8 on each side. So that's really a sort of preference. But then when it comes to this color blocking, I really feel like you got to measure every single piece, or you're not going to be happy with the result. If you try to pre-cut it, I think it's just too much room for error. Okay. And you can see a little bit of the white through here. I don't care because I'm going to cover that up with this right now. So I want to make sure it's the same width as the mats that it's sitting on top of. Let's see how I did. Yay! What you don't want is that. You don't want to see that. So it's better to trim to your estimate and then hand trim, or keep going back so that you don't have that. That would make me pretty unhappy. All right, so we're almost done with this, and we're gonna flip it around and we're gonna do the top. And then this page, we still have one more thing on the front of the A side of this flap. We have about a 2-inch strip that needs to have color on it. And I think that's what this gold strip is, but honestly, I designed it so long ago, I don't know. I think this is the most I've ever talked on a video. Okay, so now I'm just trying to decide, where do I want this strip? And I think I'm going to place it toward the bottom of the green so that it's covering mostly the red. Yeah, there we go. So you still have a nice thick green band. Okay, there we go. I love it. I love it. I love it. See, there was just 2 solid pieces of paper that looked so boring, and all we had to do is add this strip, and it changed the whole look. And I'm very pleased. So now I'm going to turn it around. We're going to go through this whole exercise one more time, and we are going to start by and there's that strip I'm talking about, and I'm pretty sure this is what I trimmed out for it. Yeah. So it still needs to be trimmed a little bit. We're gonna put the green down because I know that's the size I want. It is 1.5 inches, and then we'll measure the red off of that. And it's a little wide. So it's very hard to do everything exactly precise. It's really difficult. So I try, like I said, to always have a 1/16 inch border. Sometimes I do really well, other times I don't. But if I don't want to keep doing all my extra pieces that same width. What I want to do is I want to measure it off the mat that's down, the one that's committed. So I can see it's still a little bit longer, but your eye is going to be drawn to this continuous line. So if you have this stagger, it's going to stick out. So my recommendation is, even if this is not quite your 16th inch border, is to go with what you've committed and measure off that. And as you can see, I still need to take a sliver off. And it is ever so slight, but it does make a difference, as you can see. So now it's perfect. And that comes from just a lot of experience, stopping and starting, right? Yeah, I used to overcut all the time. Now I just realize it's almost as fast to just trim multiple times than it is to cut too short and then have to start all over and cut through a whole new, brand new piece of paper. Which, you know, if you're like me, it can be quite disturbing. It's like, oh, I wasted that paper. Okay, and again, I'm looking to have that continuous, beautiful, straight line, which your eye is going to be drawn to, whether you want it to or not. That's what happens. So I do the same thing here as I'm looking for that straight line all the way. So I'm going to have to trim this. Very good. Now I need to trim down here, shorten this a little. Here's another tip. If you're like me and you like to be precise, one of the things that took me a while to figure out is, and this is just a quick tip, the width of your pencil matters. So what I found is I'd make these tick marks and I'd think I'm cutting exactly where I marked. But if I was using a fat tip pencil, if the lead was very broad or not very sharp, I was like, well, do I cut through the middle, or was it on this edge or that edge? So I finally went to this mechanical pencil, and I'm using the smallest lead you can get, which I believe is 0.03. So I don't have that problem anymore. And that saves me a lot of time too. Because by the time I mark it, a lot of times in the other room, I'm sitting down and I have to move to go to my trimmer. I get to the trimmer and I'm like, oh, okay, what was I doing? Which side of the mark am I on? So it's just a quick tip, and it served me well. All right, and then we're going to add this. So I need to trim this down to size. That actually should have been a little bit shorter. I'm trying to decide if I can live with it. Can I still lift it? Nope, it's going to tear. So I'm going to have to live with it. I should have made that a little bit shorter. Okay. That's what happens when I'm getting to the end of the day and I'm about done. I'm getting googly-eyed. I don't know if my eyes are blurry or if my glasses are dirty, but it doesn't really matter. It's the same effect. Yay! Ink. So I mentioned we live in San Diego. It's actually quite warm today. We've had kind of a cool summer start, but it's definitely warming up here. Again, I'm going to expose as much of the green as possible, so I'm laying this down right on that seam. And I'm just ever so slightly going over it so you don't see the seam. But I want to expose as much green as possible. Right, that's in. Look at that. That's gorgeous. I'm really happy with that. Okay. I'm going to flip it all around so it's right side up again. And just by watching me, you can see how much wear and tear I'm putting on the outside of this book because I'm doing everything in it instead of on the outside. So something to consider. So let's see, I need to trim this out and we'll glue it down. And then we'll be done with this page. And this page is page 9. Okay, that's the right. Oh, this is going to be a tough one, ladies and gentlemen. My paper shifted on me. I don't know if I got a straight cut. Remarkably, I did. So I'm just laying it flat to see if I actually, the paper shifted and one end is wider than the other, and it's not, which is surprising because that was really tight. And unfortunately, I didn't take enough off. So it's starting to get so thin it's hard to handle. So I'm going to see if I can't find a little bit wider strip that I can hold while I'm trimming. I'm hopeful that I have some more gold somewhere. Yes, I do. Beautiful. Okay. So, let's see. I think what I need is a little over 1 inch. Yeah. So that's what we're going to try. And it needs to be 7 inches wide. 6 7/8 wide. Is that right? No. It's too wide. It needs to be narrower. Which means it really needs to be 1 inch. I'm going to try that one more time. It's just not my day. So that's 1 inch. That's 2. One more time. Oh my goodness. Well, I'm really struggling with this one. Sorry, guys. It's just not happening for me. And part of it is because I think it is crooked. Something's not quite straight. Okay, I'm gonna try this one more time. Okay. Oh, I just can't figure it out. You know what? I am gonna have to set this aside because I can't get it in. I'm gonna have to do this offline. I think my light's too bad, which is part of it. So I'm just not seeing it. So I'm gonna set that aside so I don't waste any more paper because I hate that. And then we've got these two pieces to put in and then we're done. So this is exactly like the front. So I'm gonna put this down really quick. One less piece of paper floating around. I showed you this in the front, but as you can see, I just butted two pieces of paper together, ran a piece of double-sided tape over it, and then once it was together in one piece, I trimmed it down to fit. And that's why these sides are perfect. It's too hard to lay one down and then try to get it to fit exactly. This is really streamlines it. And as long as you're not putting a space between them, like I often do in color blocking, this goes much faster. And I wouldn't mind doing this more often. There's just not usually enough of those cut aparts to cover all the seams because I don't like that look. Another thing that you can put across the seam is a sticker. And I did do that in actually the Magic of Oz album. I had pieced together two pieces in the middle beneath Dorothy and used a sticker to soften it. Just right across the center. But it was only one page, and in this case I need to do 2 pages, so I needed to make sure I had 2 strips that matched. And in this case, I do because I just took a strip of coordinating paper. Or contrasting, I guess. It coordinates with the gold, but it contrasts on the blue. All right, and if I recall correctly, I left as much of the gold as exposed as I could and laid it predominantly on top of the blue. Okay, that's in. Okay, so if you've followed me so far, you know that I messed up the first page and I installed the mat before I located the magnet. I'm not going to do that this time. This is how we should have done the first one. I'm going to set aside all the mats and just get the waterfall out. We're going to place the waterfall and then we're going to figure out where the magnet goes before we glue it down. Okay, those are all decorator pieces. That's my base and these are all waterfall. Okay, so the way I have this planned is for it to be centered up and down. And I want the waterfall to just cascade off the previous hinge. So I'm going to lay this down, eyeball it, and put a reference line across the top so I can get my first one in. Once the first one's in, everything else goes smooth. It's just that first one. And I'm not going to measure. I'm eyeballing it. Oh, actually, I have one more piece, so I have to make sure I have all my pieces, though. It's going to be one more piece that comes down just below. There we go. Now I have all the pieces. So that looks pretty good. And right now I'm just looking top to bottom. I can worry about left to right in a few minutes. Okay. Now that I have a reference line, I'm going to measure it and make sure it's not drifting up or down. And if I recall correctly, I dropped down 1.5 inches on the other one. This is not quite 1.5 inches. So maybe that's what I'll do. Off by not much. Sorry, not much. So I'm going to go ahead and put a tick mark at 1.5. Here, and then on the other side, and then draw a line in the middle. And I'm being careful not to press too hard because I want the pencil line to come out and not leave a dent. But I also want to be able to see it. Okay, so I'm going to erase the original reference line, and that's what we're going to use. So, okay, now last time I made the mistake of covering the flaps before I laid them down, and then I had a challenge putting in my magnet, so I'm not going to do that this time. Dummy. That wasn't very smart. I'm going to put these in and cover them afterwards. I'm turning it upside down because it's just easier for me to see left to right looking at it this way. And now the rest are just so fast because you just guide off that previous one. Ah, I said it was easy. I'm gonna go this way. I think it's actually easier to see. Man, I am having a challenge today. It's time to wrap it up. Let me get this waterfall in, and I'm gonna call it. Well, we'll place the magnet and then I'll call it. This is our last piece, and it's just a fixed one. It's going to go right here. But before we put this down, and we're going to put it down with glue, we are going to add a tag. And here's my tag, I think. Yeah, it is. Okay. So the tag is going to go here. This is planned for the top waterfall, which means I actually want my tag to go this way because I want it to slightly cover the blank part of the journaling card here. So I'm just going to figure out where I want to put. So this is going to go in here. And hold that in place. Okay, so that ephemera card's going to go there. And that means I actually want to move it over even a little more, like that. Okay, so I'm happy with that. So this is where this is going to get positioned. I'm going to put a small mark here. I'm going to get some tape on the back of this, and we're going to adhere it to this piece, and then this whole piece can be installed. goodness. that wasn't gonna let go. All right, so I'm going to line up the top where I want it, slide it into place, and then close the flap. Okay. I'm just making sure it's seated before I pressed it into place. It's done. Now we can apply this here. And I have to think about this for a second. So we know we're going to have a magnet somewhere up here. So let's try to figure that out before I glue the other piece down. And I think I'm going to put it, can I put it here? It's too close to the edge. This tag needs to be a little bit longer. That's the problem. The tag's too short. Okay, I think I got it figured out. I'm going to take this one down. And then I need to figure out where it's going. Okay, and this is where now I'm going to plan this one more time before I glue it in place, just because I don't want to, I won't be able to undo it if I glue that last mat down. Now that's not going to reach. That will. When I say reach, I think it's too far down on the page, and what will happen is the magnet will be exposed through the designer paper. All right, that's going to be enough adhesion. I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, so here's what I did. I kind of tested this out before I was ready to completely commit. So now I'm going to take this off, set it aside, glue this piece in, and then relocate that last magnet. But I want to do it based on where this actually gets glued down. And I'm ready to do that now. And this is what I should have done on page 1. I don't know what I was thinking. Well, I know partly what I was thinking is I thought that the attraction to the grommet on the tag was going to be enough. I didn't realize I was going to have to place a magnet on the tag. And because of that, the placement up and down became critical because I need to get a mat around it. Okay, so that's in. Now we're ready to permanently locate this magnet. And ideally, in a perfect world, that magnet would be on this flap. But this is too short because I can't move this magnet up any higher than it already is. But because of the tag goes up over the top of this, it's going to stay closed. It's not going to be an issue. But in a perfect world, it would be on the top mat. All right, so these are now in, and now I'm good to actually glue this whole thing into the book now. And I thought I'd dry fit this first, but I'm not. Yeah, I did. Okay, but I didn't get ink on it, so I'll do that real quick. Okay, that's done. Okay, we're ready to get it in. Yay, we're getting close, getting close. So this has been a long day for me. I don't usually sit down and do an album in a day, or at least the recording of it. I started this morning and I bet it's 8 or 9 o'clock now, and I'm just wrapping up. And of course we still have the outside pages to do. So I'm getting kind of fatigued, and I'm also at the 1 hour mark, so I need to stop here anyway. Otherwise the video just takes too long to upload. So I'm gonna lay down this mat, and then I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna come back and put in the covers on this waterfall in the next video, which isn't gonna be today, it'll be tomorrow sometime. So I'm gonna just press this into place, open this all up so I can make sure it's grabbing everywhere and it feels good. Okay, and hopefully you guys saw my comments scroll through early on about doing this on the first page and sort of how to correct that error before you made the same mistake I did. Okay, so this is in, and that's it for today. Tomorrow, what are we doing tomorrow? So tomorrow we're gonna come back and we're gonna cover all these flaps, and then I'm going to, let's see, what else am I gonna do? Start finding the coordinating papers for these tags here and work on the inserts. And I'll probably go ahead and have some of my ephemera matted and ready to go into some of the pockets as well. So for sure we'll do this. We'll start working on the ephemera pieces, the inserts, and covering the rest of the graphic 45 tags, including the back side of this one and the one on the front. So that's it for now. This is Daphne signing out. Thanks everybody for watching and being patient with me today. There was a lot of color blocking, and I know it's very time consuming. So thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll have the rest of this wrapped up very soon. Again, thanks from Scrap and Create. This is Daphne saying goodnight for now. Bye.